Welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is Purendra Prasad. I teach in the Department of Sociology, University of Hyderabad. Today we are going to talk about Ayurvedic medicine. This module is also part of Sociology of Health course. Ayurveda or Ayurvedic medicine is one of the oldest medical systems in the world, like that of Greek medicine, Egyptian. Ayurveda actually is the oldest medicine, and if you look at the literal meaning, it comes from two Sanskrit terms. Ayus is actually life, and Veda meaning knowledge. So the literal meaning of Ayurveda is science of life. Ayurveda is not a homogeneous system of medicine from ancient time till date. It has evolved. There are different phases through which Ayurveda actually underwent a lot of transformative stages, and therefore when we use Ayurveda in today's context, we need to understand the historical dimension, what its philosophy was at that point of time, how it changed. These are important dimensions, so that I think we get to know why Ayurveda actually today is, in its present state. So when you look at the Ayurveda, which is around 5,000 years old, which has knowledge about diseases and the effects at different points of time. So when you look at the Ayurvedic phase, actually, it starts from pre-Vedic period, Vedic period, and in terms of the post-Vedic periods. Okay, so you have different phases through which I think the medicine actually, the scientific knowledge system actually developed. So when you look at the early pre-Vedic period, okay, it was largely in terms of, the knowledge that was actually associated with the, knowing of the diseases. Okay, so the Vedic Samhitas or collections mention the principles about, blood, about flesh, etc. During the Rig Veda and Atharva Veda, there were maximum references to the art of healing. The Atharva Veda in fact incorporated a significant number of charms and hymns for curing the diseases. It is considered to be the principal source of medicine during the Vedic period. So Kenneth Zeisk, one of the scholars, actually classifies the phase of Ayurveda into two. One is magico-religious phase, second one is rational empirical phase. So when you look at the magico-religious phase, the healing actually was based on lot of rituals, and the association was about the demons and evil forces actually contributing to the cause of the diseases. Whereas during the empirico-rational kind of system of medicine, the causative factors were directly linked to the immediate environment, the food that they consume. So there is the material basis of life actually constituted the basis for empirical rational science. Okay, so when you look at this rational empirical period, this is the phase actually was the Buddhist period. A lot of Buddhist monasteries actually worked like hospitals. the stability of these monasteries provided the basis for lot of these monks actually to document the diseases, the cures that were available, and because monks actually roamed around all the time with the communities and roamed around, they were called as roaming physicians. And during this period, the maximum scientific development of Ayurveda actually took place. This is what Kenneth Zeisk actually tries to indicate. And when you look from the next phase, which is actually called as classical Ayurvedic phase, which starts from 6th century BC to 1000 AD, it was in this period that great authors like Charaka, Sushruta and Vaghata compiled the three great texts of Ayurveda. One is Charaka Samhita, second one is Sushruta Samhita, third one is Astinga Samhita. So when you look at Charaka Samhita, it discusses the practice of medicine, how medicine can be practiced. Sushruta Samhita describes not only various diseases and their treatment, it also gives various descriptions of several operations and surgeries actually and surgical instruments. In fact, eye surgery was mentioned in detail by Sushruta Samhita in 3rd century AD. So modern surgery books describe Sushruta as the father of modern plastic surgery. In Ashtanga Sangraha, the views of Charaka and Sushruta have been summarized, along with Vagbhata's own knowledge about the management of different diseases. So, when you look at the philosophical foundations of Ayurveda, the concept of health, illness and disease in Ayurveda mainly revolves around the concept of balance in or harmony, harmony between microcosm and macrocosm. The body is conceived as microcosm and the universe as the macrocosm, and both are in unity. This is the distinctive feature of Ayurveda compared to what allopathy actually talks in terms of dichotomy. Ayurveda functions to maintain the balance or homeostasis. So the way it talks about body temperature, chemical balance, internal environment in the body, all these are important to retain the balance. The health illness dichotomy in Ayurveda actually refers to the balance between environment, body, mind, spirit, soul. Health is always defined as in terms of preserving the state of balance. So the way Ayurveda science actually talked about contributing to the understanding of balance between the internal body and outside external kind of social environment. So if you look at the most important kind of ideas of Ayurveda are about three dosa. The humors three dosha are the wind, vata, the pitta and kapha. These humors interact with 7 basic constituents of body: blood, the chyle, flesh, fat, bone, marrow and semen. They also interact with the body's waste. So the emphasis of Ayurvedic system is about moderation in food, moderation in sleep, exercise, dosage of medicine. This is where Buddha also picked up in terms of, in order to maintain the balance, he preached the middle way. Middle way meaning that balance between these extreme kind of pleasures and that of extreme kind of self-infliction of pain. So Zisk has found the earliest Buddhist literature actually blend very perfectly what Ayurveda represented in the works of Charaka and Sushruta. And therefore, I think Indian the Buddhist philosophers actually provided the scientific basis of the development of Ayurvedic science in the Indian context. So it talks about psychological conceptions, how they play a fundamental role in the development of Ayurveda. According to the Ayurvedic text, the body is governed by the psyche, and the psyche is again governed by the body. So in that sense, it is both psychosomatic body. Okay, so they do not actually talk in terms of the dichotomy, but they talk in terms of the holistic body or unity in the body. So disease or roga, according to Ayurvedic science, are of two kinds. One could be exogenous, second could be endogenous. The exogenous actually may be due to accidents like blows, injuries, bites, falls, etc. Whereas the endogenous kind of factors could be in terms of imbalance in the dhatus. Okay, that is disturbance in the normal balance of the elements which constitutes the substance of body. This is the central point that Ayurveda emphasizes, that only if we know the immediate kind of environment and its interaction, the human interaction, one could actually find what is the remedy that's available. So Ayurveda actually believes that in every society you have food actually as the medicine. Food which comes from the nature, what is grown within a particular local environment and ecology. So when you look at the food, Ayurveda says that it is both actually provides the beneficial effects and also poisonous. So one needs to actually see which one has the beneficial kind of a effect, which one has the poisonous effect. The balance actually is what contributes to achievement of the maintenance of that homeostasis. Okay, so in that sense, when you look at Ayurvedic science, which went through, the what I said in terms of the Buddhist period and the post-Buddhist period, particularly during the Vedic period, the way it got Brahminized and Sanskritized, and it actually was removed from the public domain. The secrecy became one of the principles of even Ayurveda. Like allopathic medicine, Ayurveda also talked about, preserving it. Okay, the knowledge actually is only in terms of, certain kind of people who mastered the art. So this secrecy, okay, contributed to the rise of the Brahminic kind of Veds or Vaidyas, the Kavirajas, and during the Muslim period, I think Unani medicine gave rise to what is called as Hakims. These people actually provided the treatment only to the noble families, the royal families, the elites, and people who can afford. So from then on, the Ayurvedic medicine actually transformed itself to meeting the needs of a particular class rather than the mass of people that Buddhist Ayurvedic period actually provided. So in that sense, there is a distinction that one needs to make. And with the Britishers actually coming into India, initially they found that it's very useful to actually understand Ayurvedic text, because Ayurveda seems to provide a lot of cures and treatment. And they appointed Benjamin Hayman to translate the entire Ayurvedic text into English. He made effort for several months and gave up, saying that Ayurvedic texts are full of religious similes, analogies, and in terms of hymns and mantras and whole range of things. So he said it's impossible to translate the Ayurvedic text into English because it's more couched in the religious kind of a discourse. Later on, British also tried to interact with the physicians and practitioners of Ayurveda, tried to usefully incorporate what is actually what is useful in the Indian context. But with the rise of germ theory, with the rise of the scientific discoveries in the Europe, and in order to establish their own supremacy of knowledge, particularly the Western medical knowledge over the Indian system of knowledge, they started actually subordinating and subjugating the Ayurvedic medicine. That's how during the British period, Ayurvedic medicine got completely marginalized, and it only remained in a few pockets where it actually got patronized. Immediately after independence, Indian government actually accepted the Western medicine as the basis for the healthcare model in India. So even when the Indian Science Congress actually debated and proposed that there should be integration of both Ayurvedic and allopathic medicine, indigenous and the Western medical systems in the new healthcare policies, the Indian state actually patronized only English medicine. So further marginalization of native and allopathic medicine actually took place in the post-independent period, except in a very insignificant manner. It actually patronized the Ayurvedic medicine, but to a large extent all the medical centers actually were the English medicine. And this went on for several decades, and only during the 90s and in the 2000 decades, actually the Indian state actually brought back Ayurveda into center place by establishing what is called as a ministry for Ayush. Ayush meaning that Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha and homeopathy. So all these systems of medicine actually were combined and put under a ministry. This was primarily not to promote the Ayurveda as a medical system or recognizing its own epistemology, but it is primarily to see what dimensions of Ayurveda can be commodified, what dimensions of Ayurveda can help us bring foreign revenues and the export kind of mechanisms. So the commercial dimension of Ayurveda became a central kind of a issue in the globalization phase. So today you have both the government which is trying to actually promote Ayurveda only the commercial dimensions, the private healthcare also is trying to talk about the corporate models of Ayur care, where it is trying to impose certain selective kind of procedures, selective kind of medicines useful to its own kind of profits. So to sum up, we can actually see Ayurvedic system, which is age-old ancient medical system in India. It went through different sets of progress or advancements during the Vedic and the Buddhist period and that of the Gupta and other phases. But if you look at the colonial period, where that again further marginalized. So it's not that British actually contributed to marginalization of Ayurveda, but Ayurveda was marginalized even during the pre-British period because of the Brahminical and the religious kind of dimension which were incorporated. When you look at the post-independent period, I think a lot of subordination of Ayurvedic medicine took place, and this is where we need to understand that a system of medicine actually underwent a lot of transformative phases, and where the class and the vested interests actually need to be understood for understanding the ideas of medicine. So with the globalization, the Ayurveda actually is under tremendous pressure to adapt itself to the parameters of biomedicine in terms of production of knowledge, in terms of application of its knowledge, its corpus of the entire sets of things that it was trying to have in its own axis. Madhulika Banerjee and others actually pointed out that standardization is one of the mechanisms through which Ayurveda is being further actually marginalized in the recent past. The Ayurvedic practitioners actually are recognized only if they are selectively able to provide remedies that can be effectively incorporated into the modern pharmacopoeia. So pharmaceutical industry today is actually taking enormous interest in trying to produce lot of cosmetics, lot of food and other kind of products, but in a commercial kind of packaging manner, so that extraction of knowledge to the needs of market and pharma industry. So what happens to the existing kind of knowledge system that need to be advanced in order to serve the people with diseases which are not actually addressed by other systems of knowledge. So unless we have this comprehensive kind of systems like Chinese, where they actually have incorporated the Chinese medicine into the Western medicine. So they have three systems. One is the native Chinese medical system. Second one is actually the integrated kind of Chinese and Western medicine. Third one is of course the Western medicine. So by that they are able to actually retain the knowledge base that has been produced for several centuries and usefully apply wherever it is required. I think these are all actually the political dimensions in a way that why a particular system of knowledge actually is not given the priority as it should have been. And therefore I think we need to understand the Indian state and its kind of class interests in promoting a particular set of knowledge system which is advancing the capitalist accumulation rather than serving the needs of the people.